He was once the most powerful man in Europe. From the son of a lawyer after the French Revolution to an emperor with a bitter end, Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August 15, 1769, in the city of Ajaccio on the island of Corsica. He was the second of 9 children in his family. His father was a lawyer and came from a relatively modest background. In addition to this, the environment in which Napoleon was born was not very peaceful. The Corsican people were not very pleased with French rule, and Napoleon was influenced by this sentiment. However, despite this, his father had established a close relationship with the French, which eventually led to him receiving a noble title. Thanks to this title, Napoleon and his brother were able to receive education in France. In 1779, Napoleon was sent to France with his older brother Joseph for education. He began learning French at a college in Autun, and in the same year, he entered the military school in Brienne. His success in mathematics led to his admission to the Parisian École Royale Militaire, Paris Royal Military School, in 1784. To better pursue his interest in mathematics and geometry, he chose the artillery class. During his time at the school, Napoleon's income decreased due to his father's death, prompting him to complete the 2-year program in just 1 year. Napoleon graduated in September 1785 and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the La Fère Artillery Regiment. He served in Valence and Auxonne until the outbreak of the Revolution in 1789. He spent the early years of the Revolution in Corsica, engaging in a complex 3-way struggle between royalists, revolutionaries, and Corsican nationalists. However, Napoleon began to embrace the ideals of the revolution, became a supporter of the Jacobins, and joined the French-leaning Corsican Republicans who opposed Pauli's policies and his desires for separation. He was put in command of a battalion of volunteers, and despite exceeding his leave and leading a rebellion against French forces, he was promoted to captain in the regular army in July 1792. In the 4th year of the Revolution, France found itself surrounded by all European states opposing it, and royalist uprisings were occurring in various regions. One of these uprisings took place in the port city of Toulon. Toulon was the largest naval base in France and hosted 1/3 of the French Navy. It was defended by an inner and an outer wall, with 13,000 soldiers stationed on the walls. The only way to breach these walls was with artillery. When Napoleon took command of the artillery units, there was a shortage of experienced soldiers and ammunition. Napoleon requested 100,000 sandbags from Paris, using them to create his own batteries. Additionally, he had 100 cannons and 64 officers sent to him from Marseille, along with 15,000 soldiers. During his reconnaissance of the area, Napoleon set his sights on the L'Aiguillette fortress. If he could capture the fortress, the British Navy would come within the range of his artillery, effectively neutralizing the Navy. This would be a decisive victory for him, as the British Navy was under significant threat. They quickly withdrew all their troops from Toulon and abandoned the city. As the occupying forces left Toulon, they rendered the city and the ships unusable. Napoleon's success in this campaign earned him the rank of brigadier general. When he achieved this, Napoleon was only 27 years old. The end of the Reign of Terror in France, under the leadership of Robespierre as the head of the Committee of Public Safety, came in July 1794, and Robespierre and his brothers were executed. Napoleon, due to his association with Augustin Robespierre, was considered suspicious by the new government and was arrested. After a brief period of imprisonment in Antibes Castle, he was released. In an attempt to restore his reputation and become a respected commander once again, Napoleon sought to go to Turkey when the Ottoman Empire requested French experts to work at the engineering school called the Mühendishaane in Istanbul to train artillerymen. However, his request was not granted, and he returned to his duties in the French army. In April 1795, he became engaged to Désirée Eugénie Clary, a member of a wealthy merchant family in Marseille. However, Napoleon soon fell in love with Josephine de Beauharnais and broke off his engagement with Désirée. On March 9, 1796, he married Josephine. The French Navy, under the leadership of Napoleon, set sail for the Egyptian campaign on May 19, 1798. While patrolling the Mediterranean, the French Navy defeated the British Navy and occupied Malta. Afterward, they anchored off the coast of Alexandria, and following the occupation of Alexandria, they headed for Cairo. Even though Egypt was officially considered Ottoman territory, power lay in the hands of the Mamluk Beys. After defeating the Mamluk Beys' army, Napoleon entered Cairo as a victorious commander. He attempted to gain the support of the people through religious propaganda, claiming to be a friend of the Islamic Sultan and entering Cairo to put an end to the influence of the Mamluk Beys. However, Napoleon's success in Egypt was short-lived. He was defeated by Cesar Ahmed Pasha during the siege of the fortress at Acre and couldn't withstand the Ottoman resistance, so he returned to France. Upon his arrival in Paris, he immediately became involved in the preparations for the coup planned by Emmanuel Joseph Size, a member of the Directory. The new government was supposed to be handed over to 3 consuls, but Napoleon outmaneuvered the others and became the sole consul. Meanwhile, the war in Italy continued, and when he took command of his army, Napoleon returned to France with an absolute victory. In 1802, he established the Italian Republic and was elected as its first head of state. In the same year, he brought an end to the French Revolutionary Wars. However, this peace didn't last long, as Britain declared war on France. The Emperor. Using a royalist conspiracy as a pretext, Napoleon declared himself emperor. His consulship was transformed into hereditary imperialism in 1804. An alliance known as the Third Coalition, consisting of Austria, Russia, Naples, Sweden, and backed by British efforts, was formed against France. Napoleon quickly defeated all his enemies and emerged victorious in the war. Alexander of Russia did not comply with Napoleon's demands, prompting Napoleon to launch an attack on Russia with 800,000 troops. Due to harsh winter conditions and diseases, he lost a significant portion of his army, leading to his defeat. 2. France, having lost a considerable part of its army during the Russian campaign, had to endure the difficulties of creating a new army. The withdrawal of the workforce from production and increased taxes pushed the people to adopt an anti-Napoleon attitude. During this period, Napoleon suppressed a government coup against him and formed a new army. However, the pressures increased, and public support dwindled. The defeat in Russia and internal turmoil emboldened the coalition forces. Napoleon's defeat at the Battle of Leipzig brought him closer to the end of his reign. 3. In 1814, enemy forces reached the gates of Paris. Napoleon abdicated the imperial throne and was sent into exile on the island of Elba. 9. Escape from Elba and the 100 Days. Napoleon escaped from Elba and secretly returned to Paris. Public support rallied behind him once more. On March 7, 1815, he returned to the throne for the second time, marking the start of the 100 Days. He gathered an army and attacked Belgium. However, in June, he suffered a significant defeat at the Battle of Waterloo by British and Prussian forces. Upon returning to Paris, he was forced to abdicate the throne for the second time. He attempted to escape to America but was unsuccessful and surrendered to the British. They exiled him to the island of St. Helena in the Atlantic. Napoleon spent his final years on this small island and died of stomach cancer on May 5, 1821, at the age of 51.